All right, it's recording.
Oh, hello. How are you? My name is So Young. I'll be working with you today at the Writing Center. You're Melvin, right?
Yeah, hi, I'm Melvin. I just signed up for today's session because there were some things that happened in class that I want to speak to something about. Uh, yeah.
Oh, okay. So, can you tell me what class you'll be working on?
So I think I mentioned in the report I sent to you when I signed up for the meeting.
Mm-hmm.
I'm writing a paper in my just introduction to literature class, and we were brainstorming in class today. So when we were going around a circle, I mentioned that I
Yeah.
kind of wanted to do a paper on like the idea of race like not being a completely binary construction, because it's something I've talked about in my Asian American literature classes. But then like so when we went into group discussion, like a couple people in the class kind of said it wasn't a good topic because they said things like what do they say? They said like, Asian Americans aren't discriminated against, or at least as much as, like, for example, African Americans. Like some people even said that, because you're a model minority, actually the topic doesn't make much sense. So I was kind of worried that if I should even do this paper, or maybe I should find a different topic. That's why I came in.
I think it's a good thing that you came in. I think that as long as you can support it, I think it's a good idea. Can definitely see, like, before I give you, say, a green light to go ahead, do you think you can explain what you want to say? Perhaps brainstorm with me.
Oh, no. Well, right. I mean, do you mean like a full thesis statement? Because right now all I have is like a little outline. I haven't actually
Well, I
started
don't
writing the
need, no,
paper yet.
I don't need you to give me a thesis statement. I just wanted to see where you are researches at the moment, how you'll be arguing, just kind of like brainstorming, kind of telling me how you want to work this.
Uh, hmm. Well, I was again really fascinated. Just the topic we discussed in class was the idea that, of Asian Americans being the model minority, and the idea that this somehow kind of just removes us from the issues of racial discrimination in this country. The main thing I
Mhm.
wanted to discuss, that I mentioned, was just that, at least in the United States, like race is kind of imagined as a solely like binary construction, like a sliding scale, only like solely in white and black terms. So I feel like a lot
Mhm.
of times in the national discourse of this country, when you listen to politicians talk or the pundits talk on TV, when people talk about racism and discrimination, it's always framed in issues of just white Americans like versus black Americans, slavery, which are huge topics in the history of this country. But I feel like now that we're becoming a more diverse society every year, there's a lot of people
Mhm.
being left out of this discussion. Just for example, Asian Americans, Indigenous Americans, like Latino Americans. There are many other topics along those lines. So I think that's like kind of the
Mhm.
starting point for my paper. Just yeah.
I think your ideas are very solid. You have a very strong opinions. I definitely recommend that you find research to back up your claims. I think that is one of the biggest thing. I also suggest that you don't try to compare, maybe compare with other races. I think that might come across as trying to compete, and I don't think that's the way to go. But other than that, I think it's just a very strong starting point. I think you do make good points, but yeah, as I said, remember to have a research to back it up, and have try to look at issues as discrete items, not as comparative, one's worse than the other kind of thing. Does that make
Right.
sense?
Right. Yeah. I mean, in fact, one of my classmates actually mentioned I absolutely am not going to do a paper on like competition or a quote unquote race to the bottom. Of course not. I think that, I was going to use like two fiction. I had some things in mind. For example, I thought I was going to use like Invisible Man by Ralph Ellison, and
Mm-hmm.
like Native Speaker, I believe it's called, by the Korean American writer like Chang Rae Lee. I think that's what it is, because both of those books kind of talk about, like, maybe I didn't mention this in my introduction, but they both kind of talk about the idea of espionage, or the idea of minority people just being like the quote unquote other in this country, but it's kind of handled differently in different
Right, right.
different texts, because also Native Speaker was written in the 1990s. Invisible Man, I think, was 1952 or something. So it's a different era in American history. So it'd be a good uh,
Mm-hmm.
just exploration of how like these views have shifted over the years. and just back to the whole,
Right,
binary
right.
construction of race, I was going to tie that whole thing in. Yeah. So
Right. I think using those texts as a basis to write your paper is very strong. I think, as I've said, if you want to tie it back to contemporary issues, will need extra secondary resources from peer review journals. I also suggest that you maybe look into reading No No Boy, uh,
oh
as it
yeah,
is.
yeah.
Yes, I think that one is very makes a very strong case about history of Asian Americans in this country. But yeah, like, do you have? As I've said, I think it's a very strong starting point. I think, yeah, like, if you do, you have anything else you want to ask me?
Not anything specific. I'm really happy I came in because mostly I just wanted like just like your reassurance or just some reassurance that this was a good topic.
Hmm.
Because I was worried, based on how my classmates reacted, that it wasn't really an appropriate topic. But now I know that if you think it's good, and like, I'll talk to my professor about it, then maybe I think I can just proceed with this because I already have so much information. I
Hmm.
just need to write it out. That's mostly why I came
Yeah,
in,
yeah.
to talk about
I
that.
definitely recommend that you talk to your professor, but I can't imagine a scenario where he will say no. Uh, we are also welcoming, like, with open arms whenever you want to come talk about your writing and any step of the process. We are open, and you know how to come, you know how to make reservations. So yeah, we are here.
That's really good to hear. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I think that was a mistake not to bring it up to the professor. I think then in that case, I would have been thought differently of it. But it's great that you guys are always open. I think, I might, if I have any more questions later on when I'm actually drafting the paper, I could definitely bring my rough draft in to show you if you have any more appointments available. I actually look forward to
Mhm.
that. I think this is really a helpful experience. I don't have too many more specific questions. But yeah, but thanks so much for just
You're
telling,
welcome.
giving me
Yeah.
feedback.
Have a nice day.
You too.